About so people know when you're extremely biased about something and when you're not. So go ahead, Samit, tease up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Name is Sumit. And again, thanks for having me on this podcast. I wouldn't miss an opportunity to be a part of the legendary Mondays Down South. So, yeah, glad to be here. Sports allegiances, you can see very clearly by the logo on my jacket here, but I'm a Longhorn for life. I grew up in Austin since I was 2 years old, and Austin had no major league sports teams until very recently. So, Texas for football and basketball. I'm also a huge soccer fan, though. Like, soccer was my sport that I played growing up, just competitively and in high school. So I got Premier League teams. Chelsea is my number one. I'm a Blues fan. So, and then just like U.S. national team soccer as well is what I follow pretty heavily.
I just want to give a shout out to our fantasy football league and to our Austin homies. Samit and I actually met, for context, when his girlfriend was graduating from UT, and my cousin Shrieker, which a lot of our listeners know well, were graduating from UT. And that's kind of how we became friends. And then, we've traveled and done other things together. And as a result of that, we have a fantasy football group with a bunch of guys who, we're good buddies with, and we talk smack all the time, like all day, every day. Samit less than me. He's more like a
less smack. I'm a silent. I try and be a silent contributor, but man, y'all talk.
Yeah, all day, every day we talk smack. And the reason I bring that up is it kind of tees it up perfectly, because I would say 90% of the people in that group either went to Texas or support Texas. And I'm usually the one guy that's like the non-Houston fan or the non-Texan or, UT fan. So we end up getting in a lot of debates where I'm basically on my own versus the whole team. But with respect to today, this is what tees up the topic. We're going to talk college football playoffs. I've had two separate conversations with Samit, with Evan. People have different takes. So what we're going to start with is what our perspective is on what the committee's decision-making was, what they're for. And then beyond that, we're going to give you guys our predictions and picks on what we anticipate happening in the actual playoffs. And it should be a fun one, a little more unique than usual years. So with that being said, Evan, I'll let you start it off, because you're pretty heated the other day, as was I, and I think it'll be good. And we'll let the Texas fan go last so that he can have his rebuttal.
Yeah, I think I'm less heated now about this one than I maybe normally would be for whatever reason. But I think for me, it all comes down to, like, what do they view this as, right? Is it supposed to be the best four teams as of the day that they're deciding, or is it supposed to be the four most deserving teams, which for me is the teams with the best resume, right? And if it's the teams, I know they've been clear that it's the four best teams. But for me, I think that is just the clear wrong way to go about it, because it just devalues the entire season. And one of the beauties of college football is how big every game matters during the regular season. So for me, I just think resume has to carry more weight than a snapshot of where we're at today's date. And in the past, they've been able to be a little more coy with how they view like they were able to usually tie the best four with the best resume as a whole, and it never equated quite as a big of a discussion. But this decision was clearly going to be, okay, you're going to have to put a line in the sand here. Is it the best four teams? Because I don't argue at all that these are the best four teams right now, obviously, given that Jordan Travis is out. But I just undefeated Power 5 team, a team that's beaten LSU, one of the better teams in the SEC. They've played a legitimate schedule. Obviously Travis has been out, but since he's been out, they've won two solid games, especially the Louisville game. I just can't buy into the fact that the most deserving teams don't get it, because it clearly the regular season just does not matter in college football anymore. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. I that it just kind of shot the whole regular season into nothing, even if they did get the best four teams right, in my opinion. given that Travis is out. So
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
think
my
I'll get
summary.
my negativity out as well because I concur with everything you said. The part that gets me is the precedent of prior committee selections. Because if you look at it from prior years, the reality is FSU normally gets in, right? And I think this like clearly was their focus on money and ratings because people like no denying. I wholeheartedly agree that these are the four best teams in the nation, with Georgia and Ohio State maybe right behind them. Um, and with that being said, I understand that this makes for better football. It's going to make it more fun. But as a fan of sports and as trying to look at it from the perspective of if this happened to one of our teams, right? Like if one of our teams had the same resume that Florida State did, we lose our starting quarterback, but we still win every game that we play and we win our conference championship and we get left out because your quarterback got hurt. Like that is so ridiculous and so unfair. And if I was FSU, I would be trying to sue them. I would be doing everything I can. Not that it's going to mean anything because the NCAA is the most corrupt organization probably in sports. So not that it's going to do maybe right next to Samit's FIFA. I don't know, but it's really bothers me a lot to think about it from that context. However, with all the negativity out, I have been a hater of Texas football for a long time, not because I don't love Austin, Texas, and not because I don't have a lot of buddies from Austin, Texas, but because I've always been frustrated that it is a team that has always gotten great recruits and has all this money poured into it from boosters and things like that, but is consistently underwhelmed since like the Vince Young, Colt McCoy era. But I got to give the flowers where the flowers are due. And this season, they deserve to get in because even if FSU did get in, I think there was a valid argument for UT over Alabama. Whether we agree one is better versus the other, even as an SEC guy, I'm trying to be fair here. And so, congratulations on that, Samit, and to the homies. That's pretty awesome. And I'm rooting for you guys to have some fun out there. And with that being said, go ahead, Samit. We'll get your take.
Thank you. I'm gonna get my positive vibes out. I've been waiting years for this, like you mentioned. And look, I'm like there's like a whole spectrum of Texas fans, right? And like there's a lot of history to the program. I'm definitely like I try to be like neutral and skeptical. I don't want to be the person that says Texas is back every season. There are people like that when we show flashes at the beginning and then continually disappoint. So it's been like 14 years, man. So I am like, this is like super exciting that we even like got this opportunity. But yeah, like that being said, I think you were alluding to the corruptness of what is the college football playoff. It's a broken system. Florida State, it's like really unfortunate that factors like their starting quarterback being injured and like just changing their entire offense is like a reason why they don't get in, like despite having a perfect record, despite being a conference champion. Albeit there are examples of non-conference champions with like losses that have gotten into the top four for whatever reason. So, I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole as well. But ultimately, like, I don't think we can deny that Texas and Alabama, one, are like really exciting teams. So we're going to see like really good football in these two semifinals. And then we're, at this moment in time, like we've showcased our dominance, at least the past two games, like clearly. So it's just kind of like best versus deserving. Like I do think the best like teams on paper or the best like performances are the ones that are getting in. So hook them all.
Yeah. Hook 'em.
Yeah,
I respect
it. I agree. Just to close the best versus most deserving thing, I think Sai, you hit the nail on the head, I guess is the saying. But like it just gives, like if you say the best, it just gives the committee to like have the freedom to like do what the heck they want, like and like not have any repercussions. It just gives them that buffer, which is like insane. But I had one more thing I was going to say. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Have you another thing?
No, I forgot it. It's all you.
I'll give a shout out to Jay Shaw because we were talking on the group the other day and I was thinking about it, and this is probably very true. I think part of the reason that they were more able to do this or more okay with doing this is because the 12 team starts next year. Some part of me thinks, and I think Shaw hit the nail on the head, if this next year that didn't happen, they would have had a much harder time leaving FSU out because then they couldn't justify it next year. I think they basically just said, screw it. This is our last year of the 4 team. Let's just have fun with it and pick the teams that are going to be the most fun to watch. And like people can give us flack for like a couple months, but the next year nobody's going to really think about it anymore, and we'll have a new system in place. So with that being said, it is great that you guys were able to get in with the 4 team, right? Because even if you get ranked as a top 4 team in future years, it won't have the same level of like power or dynamics of like getting into the playoffs.
Exclusivity, yeah.
Exactly. It's going to be like an NFL playoff where it's not as revered. So that's pretty awesome.
I heard something like interesting. I don't know, it was on ESPN radio or something, but it was talking about how like when the college football playoffs was like introduced as like the mechanism for the end of the season in whatever, like 2013 or something. Like it was to like bring back like subjectiveness like into the selection process. Like before it's like, okay, you were ranked like based like strictly on like your performance. It was really statistical based. Like you have a record, you have like how good your offense is, you have how good your defense is, like on paper, like these determine your rankings. And like we still have like some semblance of those rankings, but it's like ultimately it comes down to like these people in a room at the end of the season, like sitting down being like, well, this is why this team should be in, this is why it shouldn't. And eventually they make a decision, like knowing there will be people like with all the reasons in the world, which are very valid reasons why like their decision was wrong. So I think, yeah, it just goes back to this is broken. Like having more teams in the playoffs at the end of the season is just a way to at least better the end of the season. Like more deserving teams and more better teams will get in to like play at the end of the season. So.
Yeah, the other thing that bothers me is because obviously most people care about the top 4, the actual playoff, but obviously I'm a group of 5 alums, so I care about that last spot to the New Year's Six Bowls, which next year will actually be a top 12 college playoff spot. And this year they gave it to Liberty, who's undefeated but has literally the dead last strength of schedule in all of college football, like not like bottom percentile, like literally the worst. And yeah, they went undefeated, but they gave it to them over an SMU team that won a solid conference and just won the conference championship, which for the record, I actually agreed with that decision because SMU was 10-2 and like, didn't have any impressive wins either, but like, it's just the consistency in the decision-making that doesn't make sense to me. Like you're going to reward Liberty for going undefeated with no conference or no strength of schedule. But then you're going to kind of do the opposite with the other games. So there's just no consistency, and they can just do whatever they want.
Well, next year when Liberty has to play Georgia, they'll understand that you should never ever do that again in your life.
They're playing Oregon, and they're going to lose by 50 because they have like the worst defense I've ever seen. And like, oh my gosh! But
I can't wait to see the spread on that one. We got to bet the over no matter what.
We could probably pull it before the end is or the pod is over. But and Sumi, the other thing I wanted to ask you is going into the games on Saturday. Obviously, there was a real chance that it would be kind of like your Longhorns and then Alabama potentially as a 4-5 like decision they would have to make. Did you have concerns that they would potentially put Bama in over you guys, even though you went to their crib and beat them, a few months ago?
I had low key concerns because like there was always the argument that the Bama team that Texas beat like is not the same team. Like they're way better at this point in the season. Like Texas we weren't like destroying teams left and right every single game, right? There were like multiple games where like big leads were let up, like we almost lost at the end. Like so you could make the argument about the different performances, but like ultimately like it always came down to like head to head, right? Like we went to Alabama, we beat them. It wasn't even just like by a field goal, right? It was like 10 points. So under the water a little bit, but like I was still pretty confident that we could jump. Like I think the basis was there.
Yeah, as bad as the FSU decision for me, like that was the one that made me a little nervous, and I think like really would have been like catastrophic because there's no way in your right mind that you could have put Bama in over Texas. But I have a feeling I don't think they would have, but like I think there was a chance that they could have, if the circumstances were different, and that one would have been like to me just pure like insanity and SEC bias.
Yeah, there would have been no like pushback if TCU was 3 and Texas was 4. Like I totally would have understood that. It would have never been like, oh, how'd they leave Bama out? Although here's the SEC bias in me. Believe it or not, this is going to be crazy. Even though the head-to-head was obviously Texas win early in the season. I'm not trying to take it away because it was early in the season. The argument for Bama getting in was somewhat there. I'm not saying that it would have been the right decision. I'm just saying when you look at, because it's not like NFL, right? Like your losses also matter. And the irony and the funny part is obviously Texas beat Bama. They lost to Oklahoma, who by no means is a bad team. They're a good team, but they're not like a college playoff caliber team. Whereas Bama's loss was to Texas, who would have been the 5, and then their win was to Georgia, who was the number 1, which is like a weird. It's like it would have been the most interesting thing ever, because if that loss was to if it was to Ohio State, for example, Bama would have definitely gotten in over Texas, I bet, just because it would have been like, okay, they beat Georgia, Texas beat Bama, Georgia was higher, whatever, or whatever it is. Like I'm just looking at it in that lens, but it is interesting. But Texas, I think, deserved it. When the more I thought about it, the more I was like, it is so damn hard to justify, even with the win and the loss, to say they lost the head to head and got left out. Like that would have looked really bad. Funny part though is next year you can't even call it SEC bias because Texas will also be SEC. So
we're all there, baby. Yeah,
as will everyone else.
Life.
We should go ahead.
Well, the other thing that kind of bothers me on that was it's like I feel like they nitpick like all these other teams, and like obviously we don't know what the committee thinks. This is more the national and the media, but they nitpick like every other team for like, oh, they only beat this team by like 3 points or by like 7 points. And they like seemingly forget that like Alabama needed an absolute prayer to beat a hapless Auburn team that got demolished by New Mexico State, who just like got demolished by Liberty. Like they just they pick their battles when it comes to other schools. But anyway, I'm happy Texas got in. Congrats to me. Yeah. The other thing you mentioned, Sai, was the 12-team playoff. How perfect would this have been this year have been for specifically the top 8, but like the top 8 right now, because like Georgia could still obviously make an argument they should be involved. Ohio 100%. State the same. They only lost to Michigan. And then 7 and 8 are also good teams. I'm blanking on who they are, but I guess 7's Ohio State. Georgia is 5-6 playing. I mean, Oregon could still.
It was Oregon.
They've only lost to Washington. They lost to them twice, but and then I'm blanking on the 8 team. But there's all 8 teams could genuinely have a case that they should be involved. So that would have been a fun. And Florida State, of course. Yeah. So Florida State, Oregon.
The Georgia one is actually crazy when you think about it, because they basically were immediately ruled out after they lost to Bama. But when you think about it, the only fault that they had was losing to Bama, who arguably was the best loss out of any of the other teams that were being considered, right? But the problem that they had was it was a down year for the SEC, and the teams they scheduled in the SEC weren't very good. So their best win was like to, I think, Ole Miss when they were 9 or something. I can't remember, but their best win wasn't as high as Texas and Bama's best win, that's such an interesting case, because there's a real like argument to be made that if Georgia made the playoff, they could have beaten everybody and won it all, right? Like they definitely could have. They're good enough, but the reality is it's just timing and everything. So the 12 team this year would have been like epic. I mean, we would have had such an interesting field. OSU could very easily give a lot of these teams a run for their money. Like Oregon could put up a couple good games, like you mentioned, Evan. So that would have been really fun. And then, I mean, it would have sucked if they put Liberty in, but that's a different story for a different day.
Well, there's going to be one guaranteed spot. So
but I would have much rather been like, I don't know about the Dukes, but like something like the Dukes, right?
Well, if they made us eligible, then, obviously we're in the driver's seat before App State lost. And then, but after Tulane was in the driver's seat, but they lost. So if they gave us a chance and we ended up winning our conference, it would have been us. So not too happy about that. But I wouldn't mind playing Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. Although then our coach left. So we're down to like 4 coaches and like everyone's in the transfer portal. So probably wouldn't have been a good thing anyway. So maybe things work out. But
not the best.
I guess that's
pick them.
I have one actual other college football thing since we have Sumit on. I was thinking about this the other day because I saw Quinn Ewers is coming back for another year, right? Which is awesome for you guys. But so what does that mean for Arch Manning? Because I
transfer.
Is there a chance he leaves, or is he going to sit another year?
I mean, there was like a whatever, I saw it on Bleacher Report that came out where Manning said that he is happy to stay. Now, how much credit that has, like, we'll end up seeing over time. But, like he still has his red shirt, right? Like he barely played the season, so I like one more year, and then he can take the starting spot after next year. Like there's still grounds for it, and we're a good winning program now. So like he's in a good spot. Like he can join a team that if Quinn leads us to whatever next year, he can take the reins on like what is still like a really good team. So I don't know. We'll see. Like I love Quinn though, and like I'm glad he's coming back to like he's performed like, especially the past 2 games, just like played lights out. And so I'm like really proud of like, there were some times in the season where like he wavered a little bit, and it's just kind of like, oh, like does Malik come in? Like, does Manning come in and jump everybody? But like, Quinn Ewers starting quarterback, like he's doing good. So yeah, we'll have to see.
I'm also low-key joking because the reality is, as one of the biggest Manning fans ever because of Peyton, I'll be rooting for Arch all the way through his career path, and hopefully he becomes a good NFL quarterback too. I think Texas is like easily a top 5 place for him to be, and like to have that program's like history behind it, and also like, I mean, he's technically would be a red shirt for at least one of those years, right? So he'd still have like a couple years eligibility to play. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't see the rush. Like, and also it seems like from what I've heard that he needs a little bit more time to develop. It doesn't seem like he's like ready to come in and just take the league by storm the way Peyton and Eli did when they were playing. So, the hype train is a little bit high. So give him some time and he'll get his opportunities. So I think that's the right move.
Yeah, I think wanting to protect him is like valid, and like, I mean, he made some throws, and like he had a little run in the Texas Tech game. Like these were good moments to see, like in a like a situation where it was like good to bring him out. So, but yeah, I agree. Take your time. You have like an elite quarterback coach in Sarkisian, so like why not just continue to be in that environment?
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed. That's gonna be my next question. Is he even good? But I think that's a good point. The red shirt year does buy some time for him to develop, and he should be fine. So who wins it all? That's the question.
Go ahead, Samit. Start us off.
We're going all the way. Like I have to.
I love it.
Respect. Okay, let me. Okay, Washington is like a really good offense. Obviously, the quarterback is like a stunner, right? But like, I'm glad that we're playing Washington and not Michigan. So like, I'm like fairly confident. I'm fairly confident for the Sugar Bowl. Michigan Bama though, like I'm gunning for an Alabama final because I want to beat them twice in one season for a national championship. Last time we played a national championship was against Alabama, and they literally like broke Colt McCoy's shoulder. So I don't forgive them, and I would like to play them again and destroy them. So yeah, Texas Bama final. Texas takes it.
I love it. Sai, what do you think?
Well, we have the same finals prediction except with the opposite result. Here's my SEC bias. It just means more. All jokes aside, though, Bama's looked really good. Even the Auburn, I won't dispute the Auburn game was a little bit absurd, but one of the really key notes about that is their offense has been significantly better in the last half of the season compared to early. They were so slow early season. So and Milroe looks really good. So I think Bama Texas rematch in the finals would be my favorite game to watch too, because it would just be like two programs with so much history. And Sarkisian was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator for many years, so it'd be really cool to see the coach similar to Kirby Smart, Nick Saban kind of matchups. Like that'd be really cool to see. So I'm rooting for that to be the game. I mean, it'd be great for Texas to win, but I'm picking Bama like not just to be biased, but genuinely because I just see them having a lot of momentum at the moment. Especially with the big win against Georgia, that's going to give them a lot of energy going in. However, one point that I do want to make is Washington's getting mad disrespect with Penix, who's the best quarterback in the entire playoffs, and they're at plus 700. And then we 1,000% should throw at least a little bit of money on it in case they win, because that's just so disrespectful. Like, it's ridiculous.
That was literally going to be my next point, because I think the Texas-Washington game is going to be great. I think they're both good teams.
Agreed.
But, like, the Ducks were like 10-point favorites against Washington, even though like Washington won the first game. Like I'm no college football expert. I can't even lie about that. But like the disrespect to Washington is crazy relative to the other teams. So I think that game's going to be great. I'm going to pick Washington. I'm going to pick Michigan to destroy Bama. I'm still not sold about Milroe.
Wow.
I love the Michigan minus. I love Michigan minus 1.5. Again, not a college football expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Michigan's playing with a chip on their shoulder. And I worry that the championship could then be similar to last year, where Michigan then it won't be. It'll be a different team, obviously, but and then Washington kind of maybe gets destroyed by Michigan. But I'm not. JJ McCarthy makes me nervous, but I think Michigan is looking strong right now. So see what happens though. It is a great playoff.
It is.
So
yeah, you got exciting players just like all across the board. Like two studs of quarterbacks in both semifinals. Like like it's just gonna be fun. Like both games are gonna be fun. I feel like
the Michigan is like the Bills to me. I'm never gonna pick them to be successful in the playoffs until they prove to me that they can be. Because every year they're one of those teams that has the best prospects, gets there, is in the conversation, and then loses the big game. And that's what I've seen from them every year. So if they actually win this year, then my trajectory will change. But until I see it, I'm just going to pick the teams that have shown a track record of being able to actually win the big one.
Fair choice. And Sai, Oregon minus 16 against Liberty. That is free money. Free money.
Let's put like our whole bankroll into that.
And the over. What is the over? 65.
We should bet that today before the line changes.
Oh my goodness. I think I pitched this earlier. It seemed like there wasn't too much from you guys, but any like under the radar bowl games you're looking at that you think will be interesting? I think obviously the 5-6 with FSU and Georgia, right, is terrific. But any other under the radar ones you guys have seen and are interested in? They're not, dude. They're not.
They're gonna get
their defense.
They're not. Their defense is elite. Yeah. Their whole team is elite.
No, their defense is amazing. But Georgia's defense against FSU's backup quarterback is going to literally have like 4 pick sixes. So I'm not saying Georgia is going to beat them with this amazing offensive game, because FSU probably had the best defense in the nation this year. That's how they won all their games. But the reality is Georgia's defense is top 5 easily. Like maybe it's FSU, Michigan, Georgia, and then whoever else you want to pick in that order. And Georgia is going to eat them for dinner on the defensive front. Like they're not going to be able to move the ball, dude. They couldn't move the ball against Louisville.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, even the second string wasn't too good. But yeah.
I mean, I think it's gonna be tough for them on offense for sure. But I think it's just gonna be a low scoring like rock fight game. Like I'm not a big Carson Beck fan either, honestly. Yeah, he was sick. Should we pump back to?
Let's move from college to NFL. I think.
What do we got? Any first games you want to talk about?
It's a great question. I'm gonna take a look right now. I think. Well, first of all, I want to go on my weekly rant about Arthur Smith being terrible. They won the game, but like that game was way too close for no reason whatsoever. I'm just so tired of watching them have all that talent and do nothing with it. So I just want to take my weekly moment to give them crap, and then we'll move on. And now let's move to more positive storylines. Do you guys have any games that stood out to you?
And speaking of the Jets, though, y'all see today that they want to make Zach Wilson the quarterback again, and he was like, "Nah."
He was like, "Nah."
Wait, really?
That's so. God, what did they?
What?
I feel for Zach Wilson, honestly.
It seemed like Aaron Rodgers was going to try and talk him into it, but his first reaction was like, "No, I don't want to do that."
Wait, why did he say no?
Because he feels bad. He's just like, I've probably like played like shit. I don't want to play right now.
Is that really? Like he lost all confidence in himself or something?
I think it was like it was like like I don't feel like good enough about myself to go back out there and do it, kind of thing. But he's literally Alex Moran from Blue Mountain State. I feel like if you guys have seen that show, he's like, "No, I'm good being the backup. I'm good being the backup."
Yeah, but Moran's actually good. He's just lazy.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw I was hearing on the radio that they might be like trying to bring Rodgers back because of like his miracle procedure, and like they should not do that if that is still in the running like that. Sounds like a
Even if-
terrible.
I think it's
He's
too
gonna get
late.
injured again.
Even if they were going to make the playoffs, you should never bring like a 40-year-old guy coming off an Achilles back. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
gonna
know.
tear it again. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of voodoo magic this guy's having done that he can even move the way he is right now. It's kind of crazy. I want to give a shout out to the Los Angeles Chargers for their absolute trouncing of the Patriots in a quality 6-0 terrible game. Like,
Dude, I have Herbert. Herbert's my like QB1
Oh, no.
in fantasy. I was
oh
like, what?
no.
You were projected for like 19 points, man. And you could not throw one touchdown the entire game. You couldn't run in a touchdown. I saw his score and I was like,
He's got someone in that game that let him down too. So I think that's a two-way street there.
That was the most classic Patriots game of all time. That's why I had the Patriots outright in that, and I was like, could we just get one touchdown? But no, they couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
I guess it was raining and like whatever. Like I don't know. Not
classic
a
bad
complete
weather.
Yeah.
Back to Thursday. Cowboys Seahawks was awesome. I'm back saying that the Seahawks are a solid team. I know, Sai, you're not on board with Seattle, but I think they're a good team.
They maybe changed my mind a little bit.
I think they're a good team.
Good game.
I mean, there's the obvious ones. I've been on the 49ers all season when they're healthy, and I said they were going to win this weekend, and I felt very confident about that take. So that's one where I'm going to give myself credit because I know I'm going to get roasted for my Chiefs bandwagon take later anyway. So I'll give myself credit for this one and then get roasted for the other one. But yeah, that was just an absolute trouncing. The 49ers look like easily the best team in the NFL when they're healthy. And although Evan and I were talking about this off air, although, yeah, it might just be a regular season win that in a lot of people's mind doesn't mean anything. I think that was a statement. I think that was them saying like, hey, we know we lost to you last year. Whether you want to, believe that they had a better shot with Purdy in there or not, that doesn't matter anymore. The point is like, we're healthy. We will come bringing the business. And it was in Philly. So let's keep that in mind. And they have a shot at the 1 seed now. So I was so impressed.
That was like a magnificent performance. Just like clicking offense, like every single play and like solid defense too. Yeah, I think it was a statement and like revenge statement too, right? Like they came back, they got the result.
Debo Samuel is the go Gamecocks.
He said it. He came in all black. He was ready.
He was ready. He talked his smack and he backed it up too.
I hate when teams do the show up in all black thing. Usually it doesn't work. This time they backed it up, so I can respect that for that. But
sure.
It just reminds me of the Eagles beating the Chiefs and like everyone, like the opposing team's fans are like giving them a hard time for celebrating, like, in the Eagles case, like they actually won the Super Bowl, and this time like the 49ers actually won the NFC Championship game, and it's like there is a vibe of it's just like, it ultimately doesn't matter that much. I don't think, like you said, it could matter for, in this case, the Niners could catch them for seeding, which would be pretty important, but it's like it doesn't undo what happened, and ultimately we're gonna have to see it again probably. Certainly with these two teams, I think, very possibly we'll have to do it again in maybe a different stadium, but we'll see.
I don't dispute that with the stipulation that the Chiefs-Eagles game was obviously a lot closer, and the reason the Chiefs lost that game is because they messed that game up. It was nothing to do with the Eagles beating them. It was because their receivers couldn't catch wide open catches that Mahomes was feeding them for touchdowns, and they didn't. This game, the 49ers like destroyed the Eagles. It wasn't like a close game. So that was the difference on the road. But anyway, I don't want to belabor that game anyway. We'll see it again.
Yeah, and like the excuse I will grant the Eagles, not that it's because they got murdered, so it's like it wasn't even close, but they were in a scheduling nightmare of like 3 games in like 15 days or something crazy. So they were kind of due for a clunker, but again, they got murdered, so there's no no one's giving them an excuse. But
sure.
We got bad injuries this week, man. Tank Dell out for the year.
It's a bummer,
yeah.
Kenny Pickett, just as the Steelers were starting to get going, is going to be out for a few weeks.
Man, he got hurt, so I'm not going to say anything, but I want to roast the Steelers so badly for y'all's take about them being good. Like I said it last week. I don't care if it's Mitch. You can't lose that game 24-10.
They still shouldn't have lost that game. Don't get me wrong, but like the weather situation, Kenny Pickett goes down. Like the Cardinals played well. Like
going down is the one excuse I'll give them. But their defense is supposed to be amazing, and they're a 7-4 team, and everyone's giving them all this credit for being 7-4, which Mike Tomlin deserves it. But they lost by 2 touchdowns, and actually they were going to lose by 3, but the Steelers had one of those backdoor touchdowns. Like, that wasn't even close. Like, that's embarrassing in my opinion.
That game just got weird. I'm going to give them a pass and see what happens next. They need to weather the storm here with Mitch. Mitch looked awful. But the Cardinals have had their moments. They played all.
Against whom recently? They've been getting
not recently. It's been a while, but
they're getting walloped. I'm going to take a second to give actually, Sumit, we keep throwing out games and getting reactions. Throw something out there, man. You got on you.
I was gonna say the Dolphins game because
please don't.
Tyreek Hill highlights. Oh, are you a Washington fan?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I didn't even watch. I can't deal with them anymore. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that was a lightning results, right? There was like no chance. I didn't watch the game. I was on the road driving back to Galveston from Austin, but I was just like hearing about Tyreek Hill. So
yeah,
I will say, not to nitpick, but similar to how the Eagles cheat on the tush push, like Tyreek Hill's motions, he's coming forward on the snap, which is against the rules. I'm just saying, Tank Dell got called that last week, and it cost me like 6 fantasy points. But they never call it on Tyreek Hill. Again, not to whine because it was burning my team, because he does it every week. Not to nitpick, but I think they should call it.
But the flip side of that, though, is it doesn't take away from how insane he is. And the other aspect of that is I'm in the DC area. Obviously, I live in the DC area. I went to a bar with our buddy Patrick, who you've also met to meet. And we're watching the games with Shreya, Patrick, myself, and his girlfriend Caroline. And there's Commanders fans around, but it's hilarious because I went to that bar at the beginning of the year, and it used to be like absolutely packed, and people would be going crazy. They'd be like, "We got our future franchise quarterback." And this game, it was like touchdown. Well, that's expected. Like, and it was also like they basically closed out one part of the bar because they're like, "Hey, we're not getting enough people to fill it out anymore." Like, but that's kind of the trajectory you see with an NFL team and the energy in a city. But damn, the Dolphins just absolutely destroyed him. And Evan, I am starting to, not that it's on him, but I am starting to wonder if we're getting a little too excited about Howell too early. Because
he's faded. I agree with you. It's not like his fault, but he hasn't played well the last few weeks. So I'm well, and plus they're getting so high in the draft order at this point that like they're getting close to Drake May, and I love Michael Penix. So
dude, take Penix.
Y'all are projected 4th right now. So
right, I mean you're getting pretty dang high in this draft, so it's going to be an interesting decision. But yeah, he hasn't looked as good the last couple of weeks. So he's been dropping in my quarterback rankings, unfortunately.
If you get a top 5 pick, you have to take a quarterback. I mean, that's like, do not make the mistake you made with the Chase Young situation again, where you missed Tua and Justin Herbert. If you do that again and Howell doesn't pay off, oh my gosh, like, especially with new ownership, that would be terrible.
Nice plug to last week's episode, the GM episode, Sai.
Got you, man.
I love it.
Got you.
You want to talk about the Colts game? It's a wild game.
Yes, let me look. Here's what I want to state. What the fuck is? Oh, sorry, excuse my language. What is the AFC doing? Look, I love my Colts. I am the biggest advocate of our defense, of us being a well-rounded team. How are we 7-5 and firmly in the playoff hunt at the moment? And all these other teams with all this talent, the Bills, all these other teams. What is their excuse, dude? We lose our rookie quarterback early in the season. Jonathan Taylor, who is an absolute game changer. You saw it this weekend. Zach Moss did not have a great game. Taylor has played like 3 or 4 games for us. And we cut Darius Leonard like 2 weeks ago in the middle of the season. And we're 7-5. Like, what is everyone else's excuse that is behind us? I just don't get it. Like I don't. Like, this is my way of we don't deserve to be in the playoffs. No, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs, but okay, let me rephrase that. We deserve to be in the playoffs because our team has a great locker room right now, and we're playing our hearts out. We're winning really close games. We're playing smart football. And I'm so proud of the Colts, and I am so excited about the future because our ceiling is only going to get higher as we get Richardson back, as we continue to draft more players under Steichen and the new coaching staff. The flip side of that, though, is it's kind of amazing that we're in the position that we're in. So I'm just alluding to that. But regardless, that was a massive win, a huge overtime, comeback win. We made it closer than we should have, in my opinion, but still an amazing win. And I'll take it all day. We got a good schedule going forward. So I really hope we go, 3-2 at least, make the playoffs, and it'll be like 10 times above what anyone expected out of the Colts this year. So super excited about that. And Evan, my Colts are covering machines, man. Every time we pick them, they cover for us. So there you go.
Well, the answer to your question is another. I'm being kind of a hater and a fairness person on this episode, but it's like I really don't like the NFL's like schedule of like they align like the top team from each division with the top team of the other divisions in terms of how they create the schedule every year. Because like your schedule's been like pretty easy, and I think you've gotten lucky facing some backup quarterback. Again, not to take away, because I agree with everything you said. They deserve, to be in the playoffs if it happened today, and they've done an amazing job. But like that, like I get for ratings purposes, and you get amazing games. But like the Chiefs, for example, they got to play the best team in each division every week. Like the teams like that, it's just it's not the most fair way to do it. But it does make for exciting television. And I think that's how you get some of these, like the Steelers, I know, like I kind of like them, but it's like similar idea where you get some of these teams that I'm like, how are they 7-4? Well, they were last place in their division last year, so they play the worst teams in every division this year,
True, that's how it happens. I agree with you, but it resets, right? Like, because then next year, if, let's say the Colts had won the division, we would get those teams. So it's just a matter of, it's an every year kind of thing, but regardless.
My only other
take. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask if Samit has any opinions on the Chiefs game.
No, I didn't watch it actually, but I saw that. Well, I saw that the Packers won, and that was a good upset. And I have AJ Dillon on my fantasy team, so I was happy. But
the Packers are a playoff team.
Nice.
Yeah, the Packers are a playoff team. I was saying it during the game before they did kind of need to win it though, but they're a playoff team for me for sure. I think they're going to. Well, they might even be in the spot at this point, but they look really good right now. Specifically,
I always thought that Love was a good quarterback, but I don't know. I guess maybe he's just playing more in his element lately.
The thing that LaFleur said that was interesting during the game is that like it just took him a little while to like figure out what kind of play calling is going to work for Jordan Love, and then like kind of halfway through the season they've like gotten in a really good groove. Because I liked Love coming into the year, and then he looked awful, but now I'm back on the train. So
true.
Should we do picks? All right, we're going to jump into picks. Samit had to drop, so just going to be Sai and I on picks this week. But we'll start it off on Thursday Night Football. New England at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a 6-point favorite at home with Mitch Trubisky at the helm. Over-under's 30, which is hilarious. An over-under of 30 in an NFL game is crazy. It's like Iowa football or something here. I got Pittsburgh winning and covering in a very low-scoring game.
I can't pick them to cover because they're not going to hit the over, so I'm just going to go Pittsburgh wins money line.
All right, next game, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Atlanta's a 2.5-point favorite at home. Over-under's 39. Sai, what do you got?
I'm going to go Atlanta wins and covers. This is a close enough one.
All right, I'm going to take Tampa Bay out right here. Tough game, though. Rams at Baltimore. Baltimore is -7. Over-under is 42.5. I like Baltimore to win and cover. I think they're going to crush them. They usually kill the NFC teams.
Sorry, my bad, Evan. As much as of a Rams truther as I am, at home I got to take Baltimore to cover.
Yeah. Next game, Detroit at Chicago. Detroit is a 3-point favorite on the road. Over/under is 41.5. What do you got here?
Wow, 3-point favorite on the road. I mean, Detroit has not looked great recently, but I'll take them to win that one and cover.
Yeah, I think that's light. Fields coming off a bye could be better, but we'll have to see. Colts at Bengals. Colts are 2.5-point favorites on the road. Over-under is 39.5. I got Colts winning cover against the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I'm never going to pick the Colts and not win and cover until they show us they can.
Yeah, they're a cover wagon, like you mentioned earlier. Next game, Jacksonville at Cleveland. Jacksonville's a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Over-under is 36. A lot of low totals this week, man. A lot of backup quarterbacks. You going to start us off on this one?
It's a 2.5-point favorite against Cleveland?
Yep.
Jacksonville. I mean, Cleveland's defense is good, but Jacksonville win and cover.
Yeah, for sure. Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans is -5.5. Over-under is 38. I don't know about Carr. I guess, is he presumed to be out this week? Do we know?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm going to say New Orleans does not cover. I'm just not impressed with New Orleans. I think Carolina could be a little scrappy here.
What's the cover?
5.5.
I'm going to take the cover just because I guess Carolina got it last week. You know what? No, I'm not going to take the cover. I'll just take New Orleans to win.
All right. Next game, Houston at the New York Jets. Texans are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Over-under is 34.5. You can start us off.
I'm going to go Jets win, but no cover just because their defense has been so good.
Yeah, that's what I have as well. This maybe reminds me of the time when Houston played Carolina and it was like a 10-9 loss or whatever. I do have Houston winning this one, though.
Yeah.
Big win for them last week.
No Tank Dell either.
Yeah, we did mention it in the recaps, but big win for them. Next game, Minnesota at Las Vegas. Minnesota is a 3-point favorite on the road. Over-under is 40.5. I had this one as Vegas minus 2.5, which I'm like a little like maybe I don't know. I have Vegas winning this. I'm surprised by the spread here, given it's in the Allegiant.
This is a tough one. Maybe they're assuming Justin Jefferson will be back, and maybe that moves the line a little bit. That being
oh my gosh, Evan Ingram, first touchdown of the year. What a world!
Wow, there it is, Evan. You needed it, and you got it.
Dude,
Evan might make the fantasy playoffs now, gentlemen. This is what we need.
For context, I meant to cue this up earlier that my playoff spot is on the line tonight, and I would need to win next week and get some help as well. But I needed like 20 points from Evan Ingram and Jags D, but the Cincinnati already scored one, so that was looking bad. And then Evan Ingram, out of absolutely nowhere, his first touchdown of the year. So apologies for the reaction. We can focus up.
No, do not apologize. You love to see it, and you love to see that our boy Trevor Lawrence is up to 8 completions too. So that's
we got
solid.
Got a stifle Brown here. Sorry, what did you pick for Vegas?
I'm struggling with that because I know Jefferson's going to potentially back. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to take Minnesota to win, but I'm going to stay away from covers in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a good point on Jefferson. That's probably the piece of information that I was omitting from my analysis. So, next game, Seattle at San Francisco. Interesting divisional game. San Francisco is 10.5-point favorites at home. Over-under is 46.5. I actually have this spread nailed perfectly, but I'm going to say San Francisco wins and covers because they are a wagon.
Yep, SF win and cover.
Next game, another pretty interesting game. Buffalo at Kansas City. Buffalo off a bye. Kansas City is a 2.5-point favorite at home. Over-under is 47.5. I'm gonna put this one on you to start.
I'm going to go with my usual cover, or not my usual cover, but I'm going to pick the team that I always pick. So Kansas City win and cover.
It's a tough one because I hate picking against Kansas City off a loss.
Yeah.
But I just think Buffalo played so well the game before the bye at Philly. Now they have a bye week and an extra week to prepare. They beat Kansas City at Arrowhead last year, and I'm not too impressed with Kansas City right now, so I'm going to take Buffalo outright.
Fair enough.
Probably a mistake, though. Next game, Denver at the LA Chargers. Chargers are a 3-point favorite at home. I'm going to say Denver outright.
What's the cover?
3 for the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chargers win and cover. Denver's look good, but Chargers win and cover.
Yeah, I just think the Chargers are the most overrated team by Vegas constantly. Sure. Huge game. Philadelphia at Dallas, Sunday Night Football in Jerry World. Dallas is a 3.5-point favorite at home. Over-under is 52.5. Start us off.
I'm going to go Philly wins this game. I think they're going to be coming out angry after the beating they just took by San Francisco. So I think Philly wins it.
I agree they're going to come out angry. I think this is a very tough one. Dallas usually struggles when they play Philly, but I think they have an extra 48 hours to prepare. It's at home. I think they finally get over the schneid and beat the Eagles.
Wow. Bold statement, Evan.
I'll say cover, but it is 3.5. So I'll say they win and cover here. The Eagles maybe start to see the regression as the schedule kind of works against them a little bit.
I did not expect that from you.
I know it's not in my nature, but I don't know.
I get the feeling I get the feeling Zach's going to pick Dallas too. So we'll see what happens there.
We'll have to see. Next game, 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Tennessee at Miami. Miami is a 14-point favorite at home, which is hilarious to me. Against a not horrible team. I mean, Tennessee's not good, but they're not horrible. I guess maybe Derrick Henry had a concussion. Maybe he's going to be out. I don't know. Over-under is 47. I'll say Miami wins, but I cannot put the cover on the minus 14.
You said minus 14. I'm sorry, repeat that one.
Yeah, Miami minus 14 against Tennessee.
In Miami?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take Miami win and cover.
Green Bay at the Giants. Green Bay is -6.5. Over under is 37. I have no cover here, but I have Green Bay winning.
You said 6.5?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm struggling. You know what? No, I'll take Green Bay win and cover. They've looked really good, and I don't expect DeVito to have a great game against them. So, yeah, win and cover.
All right. Those are the picks. That's all we got. Any last words?
No, that's it. I'm just glad we got to talk some college football, and thank you to Samit for coming on the podcast. I know he wasn't able to make the picks, but it was great getting a representative of one of the four. And Evan, I'm looking forward to some of these bets that we got going on tonight. So we'll have to take a look at those.
Yeah, should be interesting times for baseball too. Winter meetings this week, so which have been unbelievably boring because everyone is just sitting around waiting on Ohtani to sign. But,
I know.
We'll have to see.
There's a lot of bold predictions.
Bold predictions. I was
Doesn't have to be bold predictions.
There's a lot of Blue Jays buzz on Ohtani.
I'm hearing the same.
Lots of it. So
it could be a smokescreen, though. You never know how these things go.
So I've long been taking the field on Ohtani. It's been like Dodgers or the field. I've long been taking the field. The Dodgers it was always obvious and like logical, but I just didn't. I got the vibe he wanted to go somewhere else, like city wise.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I always got.
Because I feel like if he wanted to go there, it would have been done already. You know what I mean? Just because they're going to give him exactly however much money he wants and this and that. But that's why I think the Blue Jays things could be a smokescreen because it could literally just be trying to milk the agent, trying to milk a little bit more money out of the Dodgers. But you know what? Everything aside, Toronto could be a very good fit for Ohtani. They have a great international scene there, cool country vibes. Like they'll have a really good. They'll have a lot to offer him, and he'll get to play with a bunch of young studs too. So
yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. They haven't been traditionally like big players for the top free agents, but they have like endless amounts of money because like the Rogers Corp is like I think basically their owners. Sure. So it's like they're very rich, but they just don't typically play at the top of the market. So that's the big one. I think Soto's definitely going to the Yankees too. I think that's almost a certainty at this point.
I love that too because I really hope that the Yankees give up some really good prospects for a 1-year rental, and then I hope my Mets swoop in after the end of next season when we're ready to compete again in 2025, and then give Soto an offer he can't resist, and we just take him away. That's my perfect situation there, actually.
You guys do have a bit of a hole in left field, so that would be good. I do think he might not be able to. The Yankees might not be able to keep him. So
I think we've been looking at him since the moment Steve Cohen took over. It's the one guy that we hear in reports constantly because we've obviously seen him with the Nationals for so long, and we love how young he is, and we want the long-term guy. And Stern, somebody like that. Also, any predictions for Yamamoto? Because that's the one that I'm keyed in on.
That one's so tough because everyone's saying it on him. I am leading Mets still from a prediction standpoint, but I think like Boston's kind of dead. Like the Giants have been missing on everyone. That's the team that needs to trade for Soto for me. Like, why are I don't think they have a ton of prospects is the problem, but like they need a star and Soto would be perfect. I don't understand why they're not like huge in on trying to get Soto. So
probably because they don't think that's enough and they can't lock him up.
They can definitely lock him up though. They set aside all this money for Aaron Judge and like like Carlos Correa. They keep missing on everyone.
No. Meaning they can't lock him up because he will not sign an extension.
Maybe.
Like it would be idiotic for him to sign an extension. He's going to get he already turned down a $440 million extension from the Nats.
Yeah, he's not going to sign an extension, but they could still like get him on the open market. I mean, I guess that's my point. But to your point, then they're not going to be good this year anyway, so they might as well just wait. That's a good point.
Exactly.
That's a good point. But yeah, I'm leading Yamamoto to the Mets, but Red Sox,
I'm worried though,
Giants. You guys will outbid the Yankees is the problem with that.
Well, you got to think about this though. If Ohtani doesn't go to the Dodgers, I mean, they're probably going to put all that Ohtani money. I mean, we could still outbid him.
Right.
But what if Yamamoto's like, hey, I like LA more than like New York? At the end of the day, if it comes down to money, we will get him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about him. We want him, and we will pay him like $300 million. Like it's gonna, and I predict his contract will be over $250. Like people were saying around $200, it'll be over $250.
Yeah, he should get a huge bag. I mean, he's going to be an immediate like top 5 to 10 starter in the league. So I guess it's probably location maybe first, and if he wants LA, it'll be Dodgers. If he wants New York, it'll be you guys, I think, because you'll outbid the Yankees. Boston and San Francisco are kind of the on each coast, maybe the sleeper teams, but there's also probably so many teams in on this. So the Cubs, who knows?
We may have to do an MLB recap in the near future as a segment.
Nobody will watch it, but it'll be fun.
It'll be fun for us. That's what matters.
All right. That was Mondays Down South.
All right, my guy. Mondays down south. Take care.